G'day gang, and welcome back to another Atomic Keys video. Today we're looking at the unboxing and modification of the Epomaker SK61. Very similar looking keyboard to the GK61. In fact, I think it's exactly the same keyboard, just with a bit of different branding on it. So let's get into it. So got the USB cable, pretty good quality, not too bad. And here we've got some Mac keys. They've only given 3 keycaps, so if you're into making the keyboard look asymmetrical, then that's perfect. And of course the crappy keycap and switch pullers that you get with every budget keyboard. Okay, next we will liberate it from its non-environmentally friendly packaging and check out what this board is like, touch and feel wise. So yeah, pretty hollow sounding piece of kit, and you'll see later in the sound test how that translates. The PBT keycaps finishing was a bit rough, but you know, they do the job. Quite good sounding as they're quite thick, so not a bad set of keycaps on a budget keyboard. So this board came with Gateron red optical switches. They're meant to be very responsive, apparently, for gaming. I wouldn't know because I don't really need millisecond response time. The factory stabilizers came pre-lubed, like a lot of lube, like someone's jizzed all over this, seriously. But they were still quite rattly, surprisingly. The hotswap feature on this board, I don't know how useful it is. I had a look around. There's not a lot of alternative optical switch options besides the Gateron optical switches, so kind of a moot point, but still good because it means I don't have to desolder. One thing about the spacing between the switch plate and the PCB board was that the offset was quite tight, and because the LEDs were raised, it meant for some of the stabilizers I couldn't actually pull them out because they got caught on the LED bulb. So in particular with the spacebar, there's also 2 foam inserts that sit between the PCB and the plate. So it means there's no chance of getting that stabilizer out without actually removing the whole construct and separating the PCB from the plate itself. There were also a ton of screws holding this board together. I think roughly 14 screws or something like that. 8 on top and 6 on the bottom that holds the PCB to the plate. So yeah, it really gives you that feeling of, hey, I'm really doing something here, customizing my board, unscrewing things. PCB quite clean. I was at this point thinking, am I going to do the temp test mod with the tape on the back? But the board is already quite poppy without it, so we're going to live without that. And you'll see in a moment we're going to go with some case foam, and that's about it. At first glance, the optical switches look just like any other mechanical switches. In fact, the top housing has no difference whatsoever. The stem, slight difference, obviously has no legs because it doesn't have to push up against any mechanical clips to complete a circuit. The bottom housing stem has a pinhole through which the light passes through for the optical construct, and once you press the stem, that interrupts the light beam and actuates the switch. So even though it was meant to be a smoother switch, it is incredibly scratchy unlubed. So, switch lubing, yay! We're going to pop some 105 grade 0 oil to baggy lube the springs. I used to do the springs by hand, but you know, I got lazy, and really there's not that much more you get out of it. So give it a good shake, and that gives an even coat onto all the springs, and yeah, no more spring ping after that. For this build I've used G-Lube again for the switch lubing. It worked quite well on the last build, so I've used it here again, and you'll see that it responded quite well. The switches responded quite well to using it. For the stabilizers, I did the standard legs clipping. I tried to reuse the factory lube. That's the second time I've made that mistake. So yeah, don't do that. Clean them, re-lube them, go from there. One thing I did experiment with this time round was to, rather than go with the Holy mod, was wrap the stabilizer bars in masking tape. So essentially replicating kind of the heat shrink mod, but I guess the El Cheapo way, and see how that sounded. So I did that, and it sounded actually quite good and didn't need as much lube either. So yeah, let me know how you think it sounds in the comments. Cheers. So we drop in some sound deadening foam for the case. For this mod, or this build, I didn't actually put in any PE foam. I actually liked the fact that the keyboard was a bit louder. I just wanted to kind of refine the hollow sound. So yeah, this worked out pretty good as well. Alright, time to get those switches back in. At this point of the build, not sure you can see it easily in the video, the foam actually gave it a pretty good gasket feel. So you could see it has a bit of flex. I was considering not putting any screws back in, but instead the trade-off I did was only screw the screws gently in, so to leave a bit of travel in the board. Don't know if I could notice that much of a typing difference, but yeah. I guess that's one of the fun things about this hobby is while you're going through a build, you can always try some interesting things and see what you get. Now I promise that this will be the last time that I reuse these Arco World Tour keycaps. They've featured quite a bit in my other videos, and I keep swapping them in and out because they do have a pretty good sound profile, but this will be the last time. I think this board will be its final resting place, so yeah, let me know what you think.